What do I think Martin Luther King would have said about the war in the Ukraine? Well, a lot of people think that it's dishonorable presumption. Put yourselves in the shoes of a giant, especially African American giant if you are white. So the idea of Jimmy Creary speaking for Martin Luther King is an invitation to be beheaded. But we've all seen a lot since 1968 when King's life was ended. And if he was still alive or had lived much longer, he would have seen a lot more than he did. But Martin Luther King's nonviolence was something he felt that the law and our society were at stake. That if you allow for violence in American political affairs, you're putting organized crime ahead of civics, ordinary commonwealth, and using as an excuse race. Slavery, after all, was a form of organized crime. I don't think there's any reason to dispute that. And so Martin Luther King saw nonviolence in terms of character development as a good person living uh, reasonably um, productive life in a society. And to deviate from that was, in his view, demeaning. And that's my assessment of the situation. I think if he looked at the war in the Ukraine, what he would have said was, it seems to me, after all of these years of hearing people argue the principle of that nonviolent commitment to nonviolence is fundamentally wrong because of A, B, C, D, E. They go down the list on the blackboard. Some of them are military drill sergeants. Some of them are pragmatists. Some of them are people who side with this power or that power, this social movement or that social movement. And there are, even though there are not all of them arguing that might makes right, they're arguing that might makes necessary sometimes, without having any particular specifics that they are called upon to make them to. They start generating as laboratories as proof of their notions. So they go out shopping for um, wars to start so that they can catch fire, so that they can say, see, now that's what we have to do is fight fire with fire to put them out. And he probably would have said, my sense of what happened in the Ukraine was that that's how this happened. Somebody got a burr under their shirt who kept telling them, if we don't start up a problem, people are going to say nonviolence isn't wrong. That nonviolence will solve our problems. That people can be citizens. That can live in peace and resolve their problems through discussions. You know, we've seen movies of, people from the Ukrainian power structure who are corrupt, virtually occupying property that isn't theirs and getting away with it because of corrupt courts and so on. And when situations like that emerge, the principle that nonviolence is supposed to yield to some larger abstract that lacks any um, real definition, that Pitt calls the nature of reality, um, holds indomitable dominion. And King would have said, are you just doing this to spite me? Are you just doing this to make fun of Jimmy Creary? Is that your whole purpose? Is that what he would have said? How dare you presume you have the dignities of your office? You, what do you think one of the most dishonorable things you can do is mislead children? I've recently heard an African American scholar say. I think he would have said, "You're asking me a dishonorable question when you ask me, what do I think nonviolence would have figured in the war in the Ukraine?" It's a dishonorable question because you seem to have started the whole thing for no other reason than to be able to present such a childish ultimatum, answer the question. It's childish. And that's the sort of criminal challenge that he was done in by, and not by Russia, at least not by Russia alone. The people who killed Martin Luther King were certainly American citizens. That doesn't mean that the script that was written, that we found in a safe Soviet Jewry community, didn't have inside help from Russia. There was a long-standing Hitler-Stalin alliance for a while that may have had um, a subculture in Soviet intelligence circles who came up with this strange concept of abstract challenge being the root of their identity in politics. It's like an impersonation of the value code of reprehensible people. It's like an invisible hand, an invisible touch. It doesn't have any. The ghost of wars past. From a strange Dickens novel put together by Ernest Hemingway and his cohorts for sarcasm. I think he would have said, "Is that why you did this? So you could ask me such a stupid question?"